Slam. Support local artists and musicians.
Hi guys, this is Bryant with Slam, and I'm here with Alex from Bunkhouse. Today we're going to talk brewing, we're going to talk following your passion, and we're going to talk art. So, Alex, let's start with why do you get into brewing? Why do you brew beer?
Boy, that's a complicated and not a complicated answer. I would say, just kind of being fascinated by craft beer, like the idea behind it, the kind of American way of craft beer, which is a lot different than a lot of other brewing traditions. Americans kind of always classically trying to push boundaries, trying to come out with new flavors, like push ingredients as far as you possibly can, use them in new ways. And I just kind of saw a really interesting community forming around it that I really liked. It seemed like a good, I've never met anybody that I didn't like in the brewing industry. Everybody seems cool. It's very community oriented, like all these little tap rooms everywhere and stuff are always kind of big centers for, local causes such as Slam and various kind of creative pursuits and just getting people together and sharing ideas and brainstorming. And I just wanted to be a part of it. I've always been very kind of creative person. I really enjoy the creative process of brewing and using, lots of different skills and stuff like that. You get some technical, some creative stuff kind of going on, and just kind of seemed like a cool job. Yeah.
So I imagine you always liked beer.
Yeah, since I came out the womb, I think. Yeah.
And at what age did you decide I love beer and now I want this to be more than something I just drink, but actually something I'm contributing and making?
Yeah, that's, I definitely didn't start homebrewing before I was legally of age. That definitely didn't happen.
Good note.
I really kind of considered taking the real leap into professional brewing when I was about 23. I'm 31 now, so 8 years ago. Just out of college, I was working an office job, and didn't really find that office environments fit well for kind of my the way I like to work, and just decided to jump both feet in and try to get into the industry, and it's been awesome.
And how would you equate brewing beer to the artistic process?
Yeah, it's really I think one of the big things that ties it into art is the sky is the limit. There's no boundaries to what you can try to do. There's hundreds of ingredients that we use. There's hundreds of processes, all sorts of things and just putting that all together into something that comes together, very much like a painting or a song, or the process is really similar. I'm a musician myself, and I find that the creative process for coming up with a new song or learning a new tone or whatever, it really all kind of lines up. So it's really just wanting to be really creative, making something unique, making something that has kind of your signature on it, and that really lines up with kind of how my mind works.
Yeah, in any art form, I write, I teach dance, and once you really start to cook, you realize you're just in it and you get to play.
Yeah.
That you have an idea of what you want, you have goals of what you're hoping to get.
Totally.
But once you're in it, you're kind of at the mercy of whatever's going to happen, and
Yeah.
that experimentation is a real fun part.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what keeps me interested, and that's one of the reasons I love working here, is because we're a really small batch. We don't really repeat beers. We just kind of are always churning out new stuff. And so I'm, by choice, forced to go through this creative process all the time, multiple times a week. And it's really fun to exercise that part of your brain,
Yeah, and you're learning something new no matter how much you've done it. Sometimes you get to go just a little bit further in the process.
Yeah.
And that really helps keep going as you try and learn new things. Why do you guys support the arts here? Does it echo out from your passion of brewing beer?
Yeah, it's all definitely tied together. I think that a lot of it stems from just a sense of wanting to build community too. The brewing community and the art community are very much interlaced in a lot of situations. I think it's just a similar mindset. It's a similar pursuit in life. It's people who want to spend their life trying to be creative, trying to create things that are cool. that people will like to enjoy or look at or just take in. And we kind of see ourselves as a place where all that can kind of collide, you know? So like our creative process can support the creative process of others. We have just a space for allowing that to exist. And we love to use that to build community with both kind of lanes, if you will. And it's just always kind of been a part of our identity here is to support local artists and keep art on the walls and keep people talking about it and highlight the creative processes of artists and musicians and brewers and all of it.
You're all following your passion. And taking a chance, and that collective energy of risk takers really adds something when you put all the ingredients together.
Yeah.
So something with the artistic process I think is interesting versus you brewing beer is you're using two different senses. Mm-hmm. So do you think it's different or easier? How would you describe, I guess, tapping into the creative process where if you paint it and somebody's looking at it, it's very subjective, and you could argue that taste is a little bit more objective?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely kind of like a few schools of thought on that in brewing. Like there's some people who are really into like BJCP guidelines, like this is what a Pilsner is. It has to meet these parameters, and this is what a stout is, and it meets these parameters. But what's really fun in brewing, especially on a small scale like this, is that we get to kind of blur those lines. Like for example, right now we have what we're calling a Festiveizen on, which is like half Oktoberfest, half Dunkelweizen. And so it just like allows us to like really mash a bunch of stuff up together and like be creative with that process. And that is absolutely subjective. I mean, like taste, what people think a beer looks like, what it smells like, all that stuff's subjective. Yes, there's like kind of like some parameters where you want to stay inside so that it's not objectively bad. But really, it's a continuum of what people like. Yeah, it's like actually not that much different. Yeah.
Because actually, look, I didn't think about that. Yeah, how a liquid looks right away kind of sets the tone for what you're thinking in your head.
Visual is important in beer. Smell is important in beer. Taste, obviously. Yeah, you kind of get to experiment in 3 dimensions.
That is really neat. And when you come in here and you're brewing, how does it help you to look around and see art on the walls?
I mean, it's great. It just creates a good atmosphere, right? It's inspiring. It's fun to see the art change. Like we try to work with as many artists as we can, and everybody's just got so many different like philosophies and techniques and all that sort of stuff. And it just makes me kind of like think about how I can push myself to try something new or like try a technique I've never done before or an ingredient or whatever. I mean, other than just like it makes the tap room look awesome.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like you physically change something. It's a physical reminder that you can change things. One last question, kind of talking again about the artistic process. I feel that we have so many creative artists, musicians, brewers, because we're so close to nature. Yeah. Can you talk just for a minute on nature's effect on you in the creative process and what that means living in Montana?
Yeah,
how that affects you creatively.
Absolutely. I mean, it's totally an inspiring place to live, to like look out these windows and see snowy mountaintops and drive out into the country and see some rivers and beautiful landscape and stuff. Like that's totally just inspiring, and it kind of oozes into everything we do. Brewing has always been extremely tied to place in nature because the ingredients come from the earth, right? And the different, like you grow barley in one field, it might taste different than barley in another field. And even going so far as to use like forage stuff for flavoring beer, like spruce tips. Like we use beets in beer. We used a hollowed out tree trunk to make a beer one time. It's always going to be tied to the place you're in. Brewing is less so now, but like it always used to be highly regionalized, highly localized. Like what ingredients can we get here? Like what ingredients do we have to go find? And luckily we have really good access to really cool natural stuff here. We have good malt farms around, but also just like if you want to brew a spruce tip beer, I mean, we're just surrounded by kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, like some of the senses and experiences and things like that I pick up, like say hiking or paddling or whatever, mountain biking, it's like that is always going to creep into how I form a new beer or how we do that here.
That is awesome. So let's just end with any last thing you want to plug, any special beer influenced by any of that ingredient you talked about?
Right now, I mean, we're kind of influenced by the seasons at this moment because we have a wet hopped IPA on, brewed with fresh hops that we went and got unfortunately not local enough, but out in the Yakima Valley, harvested, put in our brew kettle less than 12 hours after we picked them up. So that part was really cool. We're also, I mean, the big news around here right now is that we are building a new brewery. So we're moving out to Four Corners, and we're going to expand and kind of increase our capacity, increase our pursuit of quality, and just provide like kind of a nicer space for everybody to hang out in. Bigger, I shouldn't say nicer, different.
More room for art on the walls.
Yeah, more room for art on the walls. Yeah, there's a lot of walls. I'm putting up a lot of dry walls, so there's a lot of room. But yeah, just kind of always churning out new things here. So the news is always kind of the same. It's just keep stopping in, keep seeing what we're coming up with creatively. And it's always going to be different every time you stop in. So
cool. Yeah, especially when you're in the new building. So please come and check out the old building, check out the new when they open. Keep supporting Bunkhouse. Alex, thank you so much. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Brian from Slam saying, please keep supporting local artists and musicians.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Slam. Support local artists and musicians.